Hi guys, good evening once again, and once again welcome to Young Pharmacists in AI Africa, um, um, mentorship session with Jean Frank. Please teach me how to pronounce your name.
Jean-Francois.
All right.
You can call me JF if you want.
All right, JF. Yeah. Before we kick off, we want to say thank you so much to you, JF, for agreeing to join us. Despite your busy schedule, we were meant to do this 2 weeks ago, but we had to reschedule for today. I just want to say thank you for agreeing to mentor young African pharmacists who want to become data scientists, who want to do real work. Today, we are looking at retail because there are lots of pharmacists in Africa who are working directly in retail, right? So they want to know how retail is being applied, how AI is being applied in retail to solve specific problems. So without further ado, I'll just hand over the microphone to you so you can make your presentation.
Good. So it's an honor for me to talk to you guys and also to share with you my knowledge. It's not a huge knowledge, but it's only, I think it's 5 to 6 years knowledge in data science in different sectors like retail, travel industry, loyalty, etc., etc. So today I'm going to talk to you about how we can revolutionize the retail industry using data science. I'm going to talk about some business cases and also like how we can basically apply data science to solve retail business problems. And at the end of my presentation, I will talk to you about like the type of skills that we need to be successful. This is the agenda of my presentation. So I'm going to introduce myself to you guys because you need to know who I am, how I got into data science. And secondly, I'm going to talk to you about some roles. It's going to be only one slide, basically to give you a picture of like the industry of data science, where we can apply it. And I'm going to go in our topic, our today topic, in terms of like the retail industry, how we can use data science in that, and present you some business cases. And at the end, I'm going to talk to you about some skills required to be successful. So how I ended up in data science? I'm originally from Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, in West Africa. You guys know Ivory Coast. We used to have super like players in soccer, in football like DJ Drogba, Yaya Toure, and right now the team is weak, very weak, extremely weak. We don't even know how we're going to manage the next African Cup. Anyway, so yeah, back in 2008, I came in Canada for school. So I got a master's in economics back in 2011, and I did some research for an organization in Montreal as a research professional. And I was like heading toward the PhD in economy, but I was like, it wasn't the right fit for me because it's too much theories, and I didn't want to be involved in a field where every time you speculate about, let's say, GDP is going to be like, it's going to increase by 2 or 3%, but it's not like tangible, like, it's not like a kind of tangible business. So I wanted to apply my statistical knowledge into the business. So I switched toward like data science back in 2013. I got a job at AIMIA and I'm still there. So I slowly got promoted to consultant, senior consultant, right now manager. So it's a cool experience. I work with different like partners. We have different partners in the retail industry, the travel industry, credit card industry. So I work across different industries. And most of the time, my role is basically to like build predictive models, like using whatever you want, like machine learning, to predict customer like behavior. That's typically what I'm doing currently. So yeah, the type of data science roles, the data-oriented roles, it's pretty huge and pretty big. So you have like, that's a slide that I've made, but it's not like exhaustive. So we have people who work in the background and people who are like data consumers. So what I mean by background is like people who structure the data in the industry, like data architects or like data engineers. So what these guys do, basically we have the data that comes from, I don't know, US data or whatever you want. And those people, their role is basically to make sure that the data is relevant, clean, and also reliable for the end users like data scientists and data analysts to use. So for example, data engineers, most of the time they work on the Hadoop environment, big data. I'm not going to talk about this. So basically it's like in big industries where we collect huge amount of data, those people, their role is to make sure that we have a good like flow between this data and the end users. So basically they create an environment where data scientists can work on. So without those people, the role of data scientists is like, yeah, it's not going to happen because basically we need people to like to structure the data to make sure that the data is properly like stored for the data scientists to use. And in the like end users, so like data consumers, I can call them. So we have different people. We have data analysts, business intelligence analysts. So most of the time, those people use SQL, Tableau, sometimes R or Python, it depends. But the main goal is to build like dashboards, like for reporting purposes for the decision maker. So for example, for retail, we can have, let's say, like a monthly reports for like sales, things like that. So those people, they build that. And at the end of the day, they send it over to the like leadership team. So people who are going to make the decision, the business, I mean. Data scientists, their role is quite different from those people. So what those people do, or data scientists, most of the time is like we have data, but the decision maker wants to know more about the data. So for example, like the type of customers that we have, the behavior, etc., etc. So the data scientist is going to build predict, or like it's going to use machine learning to basically forecast or like predict the action of the customer. For example, let's say the business wants to know exactly who is likely to purchase, I don't know, product A, B, or C, things like that. So in this case, we don't need like this. So the report is fine, but it's not going to tell you exactly which customer is likely to do what. So in that case, the data scientist can play a bigger role in that because using like machine learning, you can know exactly customer behavior, like many things. What is deep into the data, most of the time the data scientists are able to like to get to know that properly. And at the end of the day, what the data scientist does is going to like use machine learning and is going to build a presentation. It's most like industries because your business, let's say the CEO doesn't know statistics. So when you build your model at the end of the day, you need to present in a way that is like clear to the business. Otherwise, for example, if you tell him, let's say, like, I don't know, AUC is 90%, he's not going to understand, he's not going to pick it up. So you need to explain it in the clear manner so that the business can understand and make action on it. I hope it's clear. Yeah, we have different areas in data science. In the banking sector, we have risk. Like, for example, if you want to predict probability of default, like for loaners, for example, if you have like, let's say, consumers who borrowed money from the bank wants to know exactly who is likely to pay back the loan, who is likely to not pay back the loan, things like that. And let's say if you have millions of like consumers, for example, like people who bank with, let's say, bank UBA or whatever. So UBA wants to know exactly, for example, who is likely to pay back his credit, who is not likely. So that's where like data science can like do something to help the business identify who is likely to pay back his loan or things like that. In HR, that's something quite new right now. So, for example, in different huge organizations, So for example, I don't know, Microsoft, we have data scientists who work with HRs to know exactly like in the workforce, people who are likely to leave the company, people who are more likely to stay with the company, and what are the characteristics of people who stay in the company. That's something that's pretty new in the business for like HR. In healthcare, pharmacy, yeah, you guys, we can definitely use data to help. So we have two kind of like, I can say that, uh, data science in pharmacy. We have people, let's say we have big pharmaceutical companies like, I don't know, whatever. There's a lot. Pizza, for example. So we have different products that they create, so they can use that to know exactly like the product that's going to be successful, clinical trials to know exactly, okay, if we give you this drug for 12 months, how likely are you to survive to a particular disease, when someone is likely to die from a disease, things like that. And also in terms of like pharmacists, from in the like, let's say if you have different pharmacies, that can be basically close to like a retailer, because you have different products as a retailer you want to sell. Customer analytics, yeah. So we have different. That's the part where like we use like data to understand customer like behavior. We have it in different industries like retail, banking, and also travel, insurance. So you have different types of things that you can do. You can predict the probability to purchase an item, or probability to cancel your credit card. For example, you don't want to use your credit card at all. So who are the people who are likely to do that? Things like that. Also, we have people who are, we can identify people who are likely to travel. For example, you have, let's say, KLM. KLM can build like predictive models to predict who is likely to travel with KLM, who is not likely to travel with KLM, things like that. Also in the automotive industry, let's say Mercedes, BMW, they create millions. Let's imagine, for example, BMW, they have millions of like cars. So they want to identify the cars that they're going to build who are likely to be defect. So in that area, data science can play a role in that. I have some friends in Germany who work for BMW. They can do that. So different, like these are the type of like industries where data scientists can work in. So it's huge, the industry, but sometimes something that is applied in one industry can be applied into another. For example, in healthcare, uh, there is a model that people use, which is called survival analysis, is to predict when someone is going to die. So, for example, we give you drugs for like HIV, for example, and we want to predict how long you're going to survive. So people use this type of like algorithm in retail to know exactly when someone is likely to purchase in a particular store, things like that. So that are interchangeable. Like, for example, you can work in this area and apply your knowledge in this area here, here, or here. Okay, so yeah, let's focus on retail because that's like the main thing that we're going to discuss today. So in the retail business, let's talk about the traditional retail business. So for example, we have a shop, right? And what the main goal of the shop is to like increase sales. So for example, you want to increase your sales because basically you want be to be good in the business, right? So the main thing that a retailer wants is to improve customer satisfaction. So you want customers to come to your shop, let's say every day. You don't want him to like to leave without like nothing. So you want them to come, purchase, come again, purchase more, come frequently, and so on and so on. You don't want him to come in your shop and leave without purchasing anything. And also, you want him to be happy with your product, to be happy with your services. You don't want him to be like, I don't know, to complain to give you bad ratings on Google or something like that. You want him to be happy. And that's the core of the business. Most of the time, people say customer first, customers are your king, because that's, you make money because of the customers. Otherwise, your business is not going to exist anymore. And another thing is to reduce costs. So you want to reduce cost in terms of, like, let's say, supply chain, or like the items that you purchase. You want to have a good price, things like that. And once you manage sales and you reduce cost, that's how you can get profit, and your business can be called a profitable business. And that's the core of the business. That's very important. Today, I'm not going to focus on like this one, how to reduce cost, because this one is like data science can play a role here, but mainly it's going to be here in customer satisfaction. You want to grow your business, and to grow your business, you need more people to come in. So that's very, very important for a particular business. So I'm going to focus mainly in the customer today. So yeah, so data science in the retail industry can help you better know who are your customers. So you want to know, for example, like, who are my customers, how they behave, what are the demographics. For example, you want to know the age. If they, I don't know, 60% of my customers, they're young, they're professional, things like that. Also, if you want to know, for example, the type of products that they, most of the time they come in and purchase. That's something very interesting that data science can help the business with. Also, like how they interact with your product. So for example, you can have an inventory of products, but some products can be like, cannot behave well because the type of customers that you have are not interested in that. But sometimes if you have different locations, some products can be like I don't know, can behave well. For example, this product can be only for affluent people, or people who are wealthy, for example. But if you have a store in like a poor area, this product is not going to do well, because the type of customers living there, they're not interested in that. But if you open a store in the in a wealthy area, this product most likely is going to be successful. So that is something in the let's say for pharmacists, it can be the same or different depending on the type of business, because you can have, like, for example, for some drugs that are basic, so everyone needs that, but you have some drugs that are more expensive. So depending on your area or depending on the people who come in, it can be successful or not. So we can apply this logic everywhere. And that's what's interesting with data science in the retail industry. So today, yeah, my example is going to be basic on groceries, but keep in mind that what we apply in grocery, we can apply that in pharmacies. So it's pretty the same. Okay, so let's talk about customer lifecycle management. That's something that people undermine because they don't consider it, but that's very important. So what is a life cycle? A customer life cycle is, for example, is like, first you acquire a customer, so they get in, they shop, so they are the customers. And after, what you need to do, you need to grow them in terms of like spend. You need them to, for example, if they come usually and they spend, I don't know, give an example in Nairas. I don't know the currency, but let's say let's spend 30,000 Nairas per month. So you want them to grow their spend, to spend more, 35, 50,000, something like that. So that's something important. So you need to grow them in terms of spend. And after that, so for example, this one, most of the time these two are pretty similar, but I split because I wanted to give some examples. So okay, let's come back to number one. So for customer acquisition, you have different types of like data science, more like algorithm that can be used for acquisition, how you can acquire customers. You can use geoanalytics. I'm going to talk about it later on, but there are different ways to do that. But I'm going to show one example in each. to illustrate like what is customer lifecycle management in the retail industry. Yeah, for growth, so there are different types of model. Headroom model, for example, someone who spend I don't know, 50,000 naira a month, so his potential can be 70. So you see that, okay, can spend more. What's the kind of, so this one is interesting because the headroom model can help you identify, let's say, customer who can spend more, or customer who is at his maximum. And that's very important because you want to identify people. You want them to spend more, but also you want to make sure that they have the ability to spend more. That's something also interesting. Behavioral segmentation, that's the most basic one for all the retailers. So they want to segment the customer to understand who are there and the type of customer. So for example, you can have 5 or 6 types of customers, and each one is very different in terms of behavior. Next best action is to make sure that, okay, for example, today you shop, I don't know, you purchase, I don't know, product A, but the best thing for you next time is to purchase product B. So we have this type of algorithm to help the business identify for each customer. For example, customer A, they come in and they shop in the shop, let's say they purchase product A, but for this customer, there is 80% chance that it's going to purchase, let's say, product B. That's going to be the next like action after purchasing product A. Recommender system, that's pretty similar to that, but it's to build the engine. So for example, if you go on YouTube, most of the time after listening, I don't know, watching videos, YouTube can, let's say, recommend you other videos based on the characteristics of each video. And this one is very interesting for like, it's very important for e-commerce because online we have different stuff. So we can basically advertise you some, for example, you go on Amazon, you purchase an item and they can recommend you another item. So this one is very important. For promotion, and this can be promotion and also assortment. We have something called market basket analysis or affinity analysis, is to see, for example, the items that are more likely to be purchased together. If you notice, most of the time when you go, I don't know, to the supermarket, you're going to see most of the time that eggs and milk are in the same area, because they know that if you purchase milk, you're more likely to purchase eggs. So that's why they put them together. So this one is very important for assortment and also for promotion, because you want to know like items that are purchased together. And that's very important for a retailer. And another thing that is very important for a retailer is retention. I don't know if you know that, but it's cheap for a business to keep his current customers than acquiring new ones. So this part is the toughest part most of the time for business, because getting new like customers is not that easy, but keeping them is more interesting and it's cheaper compared to this one, because this one, that means that maybe you need to open a shop, I don't know, in a particular area. You need to like, I don't know, to send out like a lot of like emails or like mails to people to come in. You need to do a lot of like campaigns, I don't know, like yeah, a lot of campaigns or ads on TVs, things like that. So it's very expensive. But this one, once you have them, so it's easier to keep them compared to acquiring new ones. And we have different models here. You can build churn models to predict who is likely to stop coming to your shop based on historical data. And win back is basically at the end. So once you lost them, who is likely to come back? How we can reactivate them? That's something important also for the business. So these 5 like steps, I'm going to talk about them, like each of them. So probably it's not going to be that clear for you, but at the end, if you have any question, you can ask, and yeah, I will be very happy to answer. And also, if you're not there, you can email me anytime. I will be very happy to help you. So customer acquisition, yeah. So customer acquisition, this one is an example, but maybe it's not going to be the best one. So for example, for example, you want to open a shop in a particular area, but you need to know exactly who are the people who live there. So in the Western world, uh, let's say countries like developed countries like Canada, US, most of the time we have data about, let's say, people who live in different areas. So based on postal code. So for example, people who live in this area, they're young, professional, blah, 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 etc., etc. So based on that, you can use that and build some algorithm to predict, okay, if I build if I create, oh, sorry, if I create my shop here, it's not going to be successful. But if I create my shop here, yeah, this one is going to be the best place. And also sometimes you have data, competitors' data, the location, for example, your competitors can be around here. It's better for you to be far from them and also close to the main customers so that you're sure you're going to be successful. So yeah, we need like demographics data, demographics data. So to have a kind of profiling of the people who live in a particular area. And yes, based on that, you can open uh, your store accordingly. And sometimes you can use, let's say, market research data. You can run some surveys in different areas. And based on that, you can open your shop. So depending on like, uh, what you have on hand, you can do something to open a new store to have, let's say, new customers. But there are different ways. So this one is like it's a simple way where you can have different stuff to like here in this case. I'm not going to focus on it because this part is very tough. And also for each business, most of the time, it's not these campaigns in the retail, depending on like, for example, if it's online, yeah, for example, if you like Amazon, yeah, it's going to be better compared to brick and mortar businesses because Amazon, like you have like the website, so you can advertise on, I don't know, on Gmail, on Facebook, and people who go on Facebook, sometimes they can see your ads and they can click, and based on that, you can acquire like new customers. But this one is more related to like on-site shops. So that's why for acquisition for them is tougher compared to like businesses like Amazon, because Amazon it's online and it's like you can advertise on Facebook, whatever you want, and it's gonna be better in terms of acquisition. For customer growth, if you remember, that was the second step. So once you acquired customers, you need to grow them. You need also to know exactly who are there. So segmentation is something very popular for retailers because that can help retailers understand who are their customers. For example, here that's an example of like customers that we have where we can have, I don't know, depending on the size of your business, that can be 30,000 customers or 50,000 customers, but they spend like they have different types of product they spend on. Let's say the different types of category, the SKU, and the type of store, based on the transactional data, the type of transaction, they spend a month, the frequency. So you're going to have, let's say, I don't know, 50 or 100 metrics, and yeah, and also like demographics, age, I don't know if it's available. So we're going to have a lot of metrics, let's say 100, and based on that, you can use different clustering algorithm like k-means, hierarchical clustering to know exactly how you can group them. So for example, there's an example, you can have a particular like cluster of people, a group of people. And once you get them, you need to profile them to know exactly who they are. So for example, here in this group, they're likely to be young professional. They shop over on the way home from work for quick, convenient dinners. For example, if you have metrics if you have metrics, for example, you notice that these people, they shop in the evening most of the time, and they spend more in the evening. So that means that, yeah, probably they shop in the evening because they come back from work and they want to go there, purchase some some, I don't know, some stuff to cook at home. So these people, most of the time, for them, you need to basically campaign in a different way compared to people who shop in the morning, or I don't know, whatever it is. And yeah, so they're less likely to be influenced by promotion, because once they get there, they know exactly the type of products they want to purchase. Maybe it can be eggs, or I don't know, chicken to cook at home, to do something quick. So those people, most of the time, they don't like promotions. So based on that, you can know that, okay, if I have any promotion that I'm going to run, these people they're not likely to respond to my promotion. So that's another way of doing. So once you build segmentation, most of the time you know who are your customers, and based on that, you can message them accordingly. Also, sometimes we use segmentation for headroom model. So for example, these people, they have the same behavior, but people in that group, most of the time they spend, let's say I go back in dollars, they spend $100 per month. So if they spend in average $100 per month, and you know that there are people that spend, I don't know, $20 per month or $50 per month. So you know that the headroom is $50 because the maximum is 100, something like that. So based on that, you can send them, I don't know, offers to purchase some stuff that are going to like get them spend more. That's another way of doing this. I hope everything is fine.
Yeah.
Another thing is promotion, market basket analysis. I've called promotion because sometimes retailers promote two items together. They say, okay, if you purchase milk and you purchase eggs, you get, I don't know, 10% discount or something like that. But this one can be also useful for assortment, things like that. And yeah, we can use it in different types of of business strategies. So for example, the business can have different questions like where should milk be placed in the store to maximize its sales? And like for eggs, for example, eggs and milks, are they purchased together or not? Because, for example, we want to promote that, and we know that eggs, we don't sell eggs a lot, but we sell milk a lot. So if we tell people who purchase milk to purchase, let's say, eggs, probably we're going to increase eggs in terms of sales. That's something also that market basket can help with. And we can have soda and banana, and you want to know exactly if people purchase soda and banana together, or if the brand of soda make any difference here, because you can have, let's say, Coke and you can have Pepsi, but if people prefer Pepsi and then Coca-Cola, so that's something that you need to know. But yeah, market basket analysis or association rules can help you identify exactly what it is. So there's an example here. We have different metrics here. I've explained what it is here. Support, for example, you have milk and eggs. So this one can be like, for example, the support is the frequency, how much for example, you can have POS data, and using POS data, you can know that, okay, 6% of the time we have milk and eggs purchased together. And confidence, like, for example, here I explained that if someone buys milk, is 75% likely to buy eggs. So those are the type of metrics that you can use. And based on that, you can answer the business questions to know that, okay, in this case, when people purchase milk, we know that most of the time they purchase eggs. So we can promote eggs with milk, or we can put eggs beside milk. That's another example of how we can do that. I've put something here to also give you more information on the on how we can use market baskets. but we have different ways of like for the business. But this one is pretty cool if you don't have any customer data, because yeah, I forgot to mention that from the beginning, uh, most of the huge retailers, most of the time they find ways to collect customer data, because sometimes, let's say you open your shop but you don't have any like way to personalize any transaction. So to do so, sometimes they use loyalty program to reward the customers, or sometimes they can use, let's say, I don't know, each time you go to the cashier is going to ask you, let's say, your email address, or I don't know, your phone number, but to make sure that it can match you. And that's something important, because once you get to that level, you can easily track each customer. You can personalize the offers, because customers are totally different. Customer A and customer B, they can have different preferences. So to make sure that you identify them, you need to find ways to identify them when they transact. There are different ways. Sometimes people use, I don't know, a kind of card, they put a number on it and they give it to a particular customer. And when he shops, they're telling, okay, can you, like, I don't know, I don't know, sign your card here, or things like that. Or also sometimes they can use an app. It depends on the business, but that's some most of the times small businesses, they do that slowly. For example, they can build, I don't know, an app, and after building an app, they can create a loyalty program or something like that. But yeah, depending on how your business is structured, you can create a particular way to identify your customers. Because if you cannot identify your customers, what I've talked about from the beginning, let's say, I don't know, customer segmentation, yeah, you cannot build that because you don't have any way to identify customers. This one, the opposite, is completely different. You don't need to identify customers to do that. But another thing, if you have a way to identify customers and you know the customers who shop, who purchase milk a lot, so you can send them offers. Okay, next time if you come in, if you purchase milk, we give you, let's say, I don't know, eggs for 10% discount. That's another way of, that's why we need customer data also in that case, because it's going to help you on top of it, because this one is like product analytics, or I don't know, to know exactly how the products behave, but you need to tie this to the customers. And in that case, you need to have customers data. All right. Another step, yeah, retention. I've talked about churn model. Yeah, so that's something I've mentioned at the beginning. For a business, it is cheaper to keep a customer than acquiring a new one. And to build this type of models, there are different machine learning algorithms. So it's a supervised uh, exercise, supervised learning. So basically, you can have, I don't know, random forest, gradient boosting, whatever you want, whatever machine learning you want to use, where you need historical data, historical purchases, and behavior to predict who is likely to stop coming to your shop. So, for example, churn can have different definitions. In the business, for example, if you have a contract, you say, okay, I want to cancel my contract. So we can call it churn. But for retailers, most of the time, they don't have an agreement with their customers. So you can stop coming for 6 months, or for 7 months, or for 3 months. So a business can say, okay, for me, I consider 3 months inactivity as churn. For another business, they can say, okay, I consider 6 months inactivity as churn. So depending on each business definition, we can use it as, let's say, as our target variable and build a model to predict that. And this one is a pretty simple example. You build your, I don't know, you have your model, and at the end, you have people who are likely to churn and people who are not likely to churn. So here you can split by the propensity to churn. Here you can say, okay, if you're above 70%, I consider you as likely to churn. If you're less than 70%, I consider you not as not likely to churn. And based on that, you can send out communication to each people. For example, you fall in that group, but in terms of like communication, you need to be very specific, because for people who are likely to churn, you're going to have people who don't spend a lot. So you can have people that come, I don't know, twice a month, and they spend $10 per month. So it's not like they're not like valuable customers, but you can have people that come in, they shop, and they shop like they spend a lot. So those people, you need to like prioritize them. So that's why I put here value matrix. So value matrix is like, for example, people who are likely to churn, how you can bucket them. So for example, here we can bucket them in 3 groups: high, medium, and low, based on their spending behavior. And people who spend more, high. So the strategy for you is to like, this one is top priority for you. You need to make sure that you keep them at all costs, because if you lose them, you're going to lose people who spend a lot to your shop. And medium, same thing. You need to protect them and encourage them. But people who come and don't spend a lot, they have, in terms of spend, they're pretty low. So yeah, those people you can let them go, because anyway, if they come back, they're not going to spend a lot. In terms of margin for you, it's not going to be interesting. So you can let them go, because keep in mind that you're going to spend money for those people. So it doesn't worth spending money for people who are not going to come back, and they're not going to spend a lot. So it's useless. So that's a way where, like, that's how data science can help business retain customers, because it can identify people, let's say in the next 6 months, they're going to churn. So based on their spending, so you can prevent that to happen. Yeah, this one is the last step. It's a win back reactivation model. So let's say you lost people, you lost customers, and you want to get them back to your shop. So to do so, you can use like predictive model, yeah, machine learning, predictive model, whatever you want. But you need to have history of like people who left, for example, that you lost and came back, so that you can build your model on. Because if you cannot create a kind of target variable for people who have been reactivated, that means that this one cannot happen. Let's say, for example, I'll give an example. So you define churn as people who have been lapsed for, let's say, for 3 months. They did no transaction in 3 months. So, but you realize that after 3 months, there are some who came back. Okay, so you need to know exactly why they came back. And also you need to predict people in your base, in your database who, who haven't been active, how likely are they to come back? But based on the historical data of people who came back, you can build an algorithm to predict who are the next ones who are going to come back. And that's pretty important. That's also very important, because based on that, you can like optimize your audience selection. Because let's say if you have 30,000 people who left, but you have only money for campaigns for, I don't know, 5,000. So who are the people who are likely to come back? Who are the 5,000 who are likely to come back? And that's how data science can help the business make like decisions. And also, for example, if you build a model, like you use, I don't know, random forest. Random forest was the best model, and not random forest. I don't know, whatever you want. Anyway, and based off your model, you identify that okay, people who come back, they spend more in poultry in summer. Summer poultry, probably they like barbecues, and they're young. They spend more in milk or eggs, but they're less likely to spend in drugs. Okay, so you know that those people who come back, they don't shop in drugs, but mostly they shop in poultry, things like that. So once you know that, and you build your model and you have your scores, so the people who are likely to be reactivated, so basically you need to send them offers for, I don't know, poultry, barbecue stuff, something related to young people, things like that. And that's how you're going to target them. That's a way of like building, like, that's a way of using data science for win back customers. Okay, so yeah, I've talked about different areas where data science can help retailers make better decisions. But because you guys are data scientists, I want you to give some like keys of how to be successful in data science. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but also keep in mind that my presentation is not exhaustive. There's more than that because I haven't gone into like, I don't know, using proper deep learning or like AI stuff for like retailers because there's a lot of business cases. I wanted to show you only the basic one. Maybe later on, if you have time, we can talk on like, I don't know, the more sophisticated algorithm or deep learning for retailers. But this one was like the basics to give you a kind of like idea of how we can use data science for this. So we have, I can say that in data science, we have three main areas, three main skills that you guys need to master. The first one is the business skills, but this one is tough because 90% of the data scientists at the beginning, they're good at doing like programming, Python or building machine learning, things like that. But the business, they don't quite know, for example. But if you are like, I don't know, if you own a pharmacy, you know how your business works, yeah, that's definitely good because you know that, okay, for example, at the beginning, if I remember when I worked, I've built a lot of models, but it didn't make sense. So for example, I'll give you an example. Uh, you can have, okay, you build a model and you notice that there is a variable that tells me that if you spend more in, I don't know, in restaurant, you're likely to cancel your credit card. But it doesn't make sense because the more you spend in restaurant, that means that you're going to keep your card. So depending on, if you know the business very well, it's going to help you build the best uh, algorithm, the best model. But if you don't know, you're going to build something, yeah, interesting, but it's gonna be tough because sometimes you don't know if it's relevant or not. And also, if you know the business very well, you can create many features. You can do good features and feature engineering. For example, I know the business very well. I can create different variables because I know the business. I don't know. I can create metrics for people who spend in the evening because I know that, okay, yeah, probably it's going to help the accuracy of my business, of my model, excuse me. So knowing the business can help you definitely build a better like algorithm. Also, IT, you need to triangulate the three IT in terms of like performance, in terms of like infrastructure. You need to know that also to be very good. So if you know the tree, if you master the tree, you're going to be the best in the area. But if you know only one side, yeah, it's good, but you need the other two to be like better in the field. That's how you, I don't, that's the three like core skill that you need to be very successful in data science. Okay, I'm going to close this with this slide. The most common data science skills. This comes from Glassdoor. Glassdoor is like, it's a website where you can find any information on any like, I don't know, uh, roles or like positions, whatever, what is required in terms of like salary, in terms of skills for whatever field, you can go on Glassdoor and you're going to find information. So I picked it from there to show you an example. So Python is getting extremely popular. So when I started, I think 5, 6 years ago, SAS was the top in the market. After SAS was R, but R was above SAS at some point. But right now, Python is the top. You can see 72%, R 64. SQL, people undermine SQL, but SQL, it's the basic. It's very important to know SQL. It's very important to know SQL. I would say focus only on the three if you want to start. The rest, Java, Spark, yeah, it's fine. Spark is not it's not like a language, it's only an environment where you can use Python or R. So if you know the first three, to me is the most important. Even Python and SQL, you're good. Even Python alone, I think it's fine. You're good. So yeah, don't because there's a lot of like languages out there. I don't want you guys to waste time on something that is not relevant. For me, to make it simple, focus only on Python for now. If you know Python very well, you can go on SQL and R, whatever you want. But yeah, Python should be the top priority for you guys to be successful. So yeah, that's it. I think I spent 51 minutes presenting. So thank you guys. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to present you what I know. But it's only what I know. There are many things else that I don't know. But yeah, that's something I wanted to share with you. There is a lot that I can present, but I don't have time. I only have like an hour. But anyway, so that's it for now. Maybe later on we're going to have something else. I don't know. But yeah, so thank you guys, and I hope that based on this, you guys can take, I don't know, you can learn from this and be very successful in your career on, I don't know, if you want to create your own company and how data science can help you. So those are the areas where that can give you some ideas, early thoughts on how you can use data science in retail. So thank you and wish you all the best, guys.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, for giving us an hour out of your very busy schedule. But please, there is a question that someone asked.
Yeah.
She says that most times in the retail, that most of the projects she has worked on has been on clustering and classification usually. So, but she's asking if there are any regression applications in AI when it comes to retail.
Any regression on what?
On any regression, any problem that she can use regression to solve.
Oh yes, right? yes. You can use it for like to forecast sales. For sales forecasting.
That's a time series.
Pardon?
That's like a time series forecasting.
Yeah, that's a time series. Regression also can play a role because, for example, if you have different sales, you want to know what is driving sales. There's something called, if I remember, MMM, marketing mix modeling. I don't know if I can yeah, but anyway, marketing mix modeling. That's something where people use regression on because they want to know, for example, you have a store, you spend, I don't know, you have sales and also you have the number of SKUs that you have sold. For example, you sold 10,000, I don't know, products, you spend $20,000 in, I don't know, marketing. You have different metrics and you can use regression to know exactly what is driving sales up. You see what I mean? So yeah, there's something also that you can use to understand exactly your sales, what is driving it up. And in terms of regression, what else we have? I think that was the only thing that I've done for regression, but I'm sure there are a lot. So to understand, I don't know, the price of, so for example, most of the time people use this to understand correlation, not correlation, but like kind of correlation between an event with many variables. Like, I don't know, that's the case for sales, but that can be the case for like the product that you sell, what is driving I don't know, sales of product A up. You can have price, you can have the store, if you sell it more in store A, B, C. If you sell 1 unit of this product in store A, you're going to get $20,000. But if you sell 1 unit of product A in store Z, you can have less. You can lose. I don't know, not lose. But you can have $10 more, something like that. So based on that, you know that, okay, this product is performing well in A, and it has a significant impact on my sales overall. Is that helping?
Yeah, that's fine. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So finally, I just want to show appreciation basically for giving us your time. I know how busy you are. Personally, I do, and I know how you take time to mentor me as a person. I want to say thank you for that. I appreciate all of that.
No problem.
So that will be all for now. If we have any other questions, we're going to make all of that questions personal. Send you an email and so on. So thank you so much, JF. I appreciate you. Yeah,
You're welcome, man. Also, you guys, I hope that you made the right choice.
Hello?
I know that you guys are voting today, so I'm hoping that you made the right choice for your country today.
Well, hopefully. Hopefully. All right. Thank you so much.
We need Nigeria, so we need you guys.
Definitely. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
Thanks for your support during the World Cup.
Oh, no problem. Anyway, but if we meet in the African Cup,
we'll always beat Ivory Coast. Come on.
Yeah, you're gonna beat us. Our team is very weak, extremely weak.
All right. Thank you very much.
Take care, guys. Yeah. Bye bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.